Okay, fifth time's a charm, right? So the only thing that's going to be different with this one is our step 2. We're dividing our equation in step 2 by whatever your coefficient is in front of your x squared term. So if it's 4, like in our example, we're going to do it by 4. So you want that number to be 1 in order to complete the square. So this will take some extra room because there's going to be a lot of steps here. So just an FYI, when you have to show work, just write small or get a different piece of paper. So you're going to get the c term, so it says rewrite. So you're going to get the c term over here. So I'm going to add 5. So I'm left with 4x squared plus 8x equals 5. Now you're going to rewrite again and divide by 4. So we're still trying to get it in the correct form. So when I do that, I'm going to divide this by 4, which gives you x squared. I'm going to divide this by 4. Take the sign with you, which gives you plus 2x equals 5/4. Just leave it. Now I'm going to take half of b, square, and add it to both sides. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 equals 1 squared gives you 1. This is what I'm adding to both sides. Hopefully you can see my work. So x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 5/4 plus 1. Factor. Okay, so I'm going to add 5/4 plus 1 over here. So 5/4 plus 4/4 gives you 1. Gives you 9/4. Okay. Perfect square trinomial. Okay, 1 and 2. This is what you're trying to get it to. You want that perfect square, so it's going to be x plus 1 equals 9/4. Sorry, squared. X plus 1 squared. Take the square root. What's left? X plus 1. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 4 is 2. It's going to be positive. Give you some more space. Equals positive or negative 3/2. Subtract 1. Okay. So now I'm going to get x is equal to -1 plus 3/2, or x is equal to -1 minus 3/2. Alright, I'm just going to do some stuff over here in this margin. So I have -1/1, or if I want it the same, it's going to be -2/2 plus 3/2 gives me 1/2. So 1/2. And then I have -1 minus 3/2. Again, I want the same denominator, so I'm going to do -2/2 minus 3/2, which gives me -5/2. So there's my answers. So I'm going to write this. Let's move this one up just a little bit. Okay, so x is going to equal, in my braces, 1/2, comma, -5/2 braces. All right, so there's my work. If you have a calculator, that's great. Go ahead and use it. I'm going to do a few of these ones, and then I'm going to go to the back page. Hopefully I don't run out of battery. All right, number 1. Subtract 6. Now you're left with 2x squared minus 8x equals -6. Divide by 2. So now I get to divide this by 2, which is leave me with x squared, and this, which is -4x equals -6 divided by 2, -3. Take half of 4, so -2, square it. -2 times -2 is going to give you 4, so you're adding 4. So -4 divided by 2 equals -2 squared 4. add to both sides. X squared minus 4x plus 4 equals negative 3 plus 4. Perfect square trinomial. What times what is 4? What plus what is going to be negative 4. So it's going to be x minus 2 squared equals 1. Square root x minus 2 equals the square root of 1 is going to be positive and negative 1. Add 2. Okay, so now this is where I get my 2. So I have 2 plus 1, which is going to give me 3. And my second one is going to give me 2 minus 1, which is negative 1. Sorry, 1. So then I have x is going to be equal to 1 comma 3. Alright, number 4. Okay. Subtract 3. 4x squared plus 8x equals negative 3. Divide by 4. X squared plus 2x equals negative 3/4. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Add 1 to both sides. X squared plus 2x plus 1 equals negative 3/4 plus 1. So if you did negative 3/4 plus 4/4, it's going to give you 1/4. Perfect square trinomial with the right side, sorry, the left side. What times what is 1? What plus 1? What plus what is 2? X plus 1 squared equals 1/4. Square root. Left with x plus 1 equals the square root of 1/4 is 1/2 plus or minus. Subtract 1. 2 equations. So I'm left with x is equal to negative 1 plus 1/2. And I'm left with x equals negative 1 minus 1/2. Alright, negative 1 plus 1/2. If you don't know that one, just go negative 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2. And it gives you negative 1/2. And I have negative 2 over 2 minus 1/2, and it gives me negative 3/2. So it's x is negative 3 over 2 and negative 1 over 2. Okay, so all I'm doing here is changing my denominator before I add or subtract fractions. Okay, so if you can do this on the calculator, great. If you want to do it as negative 1 over 1, then change your denominator by multiplying by 2, you can do the same thing. You're going to get the same exact answer. All right, we're going to flip the page. Which I've already done all these, except for I had to erase them all. Let's do number 5. It starts off just a little bit different. Okay, so I have a 1 and a negative x squared here. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to get this over to the left. Okay, and then I want this negative 44 to my right, but I'll do that in a second. So I'm going to add x squared. So I'm left with 4x squared minus 24x minus 44 equals 1. Now I want my c term, which is this negative 44, over to my right. So add 44. Left with 4x squared minus 24x equals 45. Okay, now I divide. Divide everything by 4 here. So I'm left with x squared minus 6x equals, and just leave that as 45 over 4 right now. Okay, half of b, square it, so half 6, negative 6 divided by 2, negative 3 squared is going to give me 9. Add that to both sides. X squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 45 over 4 plus 9. I'm going to do this off to the side, so 45 over 4 plus 9 over 1. Sorry. Multiply by 4, which gives me 45 over 4 plus 36 over 4, which gives me 81 over 4. Okay, so I'm going to pull back in perfect square. Trinomial right here. X minus 3 squared equals 81 over 4. Square root. X minus 3 equals, the square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 4 is 2. So I have, plus or minus 9 over 2. And I'm going to get my two equations over here. So I have x is equal to, I'm going to add 3, add 3. 3 plus 9 over 2, and x equals 3 minus 9 over 2. Alright, I'm actually doing it in the square of 6 because I'm not going to use that right now. So I'm going to have 3 over 1 plus 9 over 2. So I want this side to be multiplied by 2, which is going to give me 6 over 2 plus 9 over 2, which is going to give me 15 over 2. And then 3 over 1 minus 9 over 2, multiply by 2, which is going to give me 6 over 2 minus 9 over 2, and it's going to give me negative 3 over 2. There's your other one. So your x is going to be equal to braces, negative 3 over 2, comma, 15 over 2. Alright. I'm going to do 2 from the irrational solutions, and then I will be done. Alright, let's do number 7. Subtract 22. 2x squared minus 16x equals negative 22. Divide by 2. X squared minus 8x equals negative 11. Negative 8 divided by 2 equals negative 4. Squared is going to give you 16. Add that to both sides. X squared minus 8x plus 16 equals negative 11 plus 16. Okay, perfect square. X minus 4 squared, and negative 11 plus 16 is going to give you 5. Square root is going to give you x minus 4 equals this plus or minus, and this one can't be reduced. 5 is prime, so it's the prime or square root of 5. Just leave it just like this. Add 4 to both sides in front of your plus minus. X is going to be equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of 5. You're going to leave it just like that. Alright, last one, number 8. Add 12. 4x squared plus 40x equals equals 12. Divide everything by 4. And then you're going to get x squared plus 10x equals 3. Half of b, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. Squared is 25. Add that to both sides. X squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 3 plus 25. Perfect square. X plus 5 squared equals 25 plus 3. It's going to give you 28. Square root. So I'm left with x plus 5 equals, this is where you're going to do your prime factorization. So 28 prime factor it. 4 times 7. 4 is not prime, break it down. 2 times 2, both prime. 7 is prime. Pull out your doubles or your perfect squares, which is 2 and 2. So pull out your double 2, which is just equals 2 times the square root of 7. Subtract 5 in front, sorry, this is plus and minus, in front of your plus minus sign. So x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus 2 square root of 7. And you're going to leave it just like that. So 8 and 9 are a lot alike, and 7 and 10 are a lot alike. So if you need extra practice, those are those. And then that will be it. Alright, I'll see you guys in class on Thursday.